May Elohim bless you. Today I would like to read Matthew chapter 15 and listen to the religious leaders criticizing the disciples for something that they were doing. Listen to this. And then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, Honor your father and your mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, listen what the Pharisees are saying. But you say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift by whatsoever you might be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandments of God a none effect by your tradition. You hypocrites, well did Esaias prophesy of you, saying, This people, drawing nigh unto me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for the doctrines the commandments of men. So here we see that the religious leaders are criticizing the disciples for the reason that they did not wash their hands before they're eating. This is a tradition of man where they needed to wash their hands before they ate. And so they were criticizing the disciples for not doing that. And here we see Jesus correcting them, saying, Why are you transgressing the commandments of God by your tradition? Okay, let's continue moving forward now. And it says on verse 10, And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Now Jesus is speaking to those that have ears to listen. And listen to this and have understanding of this. Listen carefully. Hear and understand. Not that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man. So, brothers and sisters, Jesus is clarifying that it's not what goes into our mouth that defiles us. Okay? It's not what goes into our mouth that defiles us. He is, to clarify it, brothers and sisters, he is not going into detail of what food is clean and not clean. This is not about that. He's simply expressing that what's going into your mouth, that you're putting in your mouth to eat, that does not defile you. Okay? It doesn't defile you, because here we see, remember, here we see the disciples being criticized by the religious leaders because they had a tradition, a tradition of the elders, a tradition of man, that before you ate, you had to wash your hands. This was a tradition of man that they did, that they had to wash their hands in order for them to eat. And we see that the disciples did not do that because they were not following the tradition of man. They were following God's commandments, the ways of the Father, you see. And so they were being criticized. So I just want to make sure that we are all in the same page of understanding here as we try to understand Matthew chapter 15 of what is trying to express to all of us, so we can hear and understand. That, again, not that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man. And it continues saying, Then came his disciples and said unto him, Know you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. You hear this? Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. Kind of saying, leave them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. So basically, they're the blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the pit, into the dish. And it continues now saying, then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. They wanted to basically understand. They couldn't figure it out what he was trying to express here. And so Jesus says, are you also yet without understanding? Do not you yet understand that whatsoever enters in at the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out into the drought? He continues saying, but those things which proceeds out of the mouth, basically which comes out of your mouth, your speech, he's expressing speech here, but those things which proceeds out of your mouth comes forth from the heart, and they defile the man. So he's expressing that what is defiling a man is what comes out of your mouth. It's your speech, it's your words that comes out of your mouth that defiles a man. And he expresses what are these things that defiles a man. For out of the heart, basically out of the heart, he's speaking about the speech, the words, out of the mouth. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, thieves, false witness, and blasphemies. Blasphemies is basically a profane speech in action. Okay? These are the things which defiles a man. But to eat with unwashed hands, so now he's clarifying it, but to eat with unwashed hand defiles not a man. May this be an encouraging word of food for you to digest, and may this bring understanding to all those that have ears to listen, brothers and sisters. May we be careful with our speech from here on out, if you were not. May we be careful continuously with our speech. May we guard our heart diligently. And we be cautious with what we say, what comes out of our mouth, and that we heed the warnings that Jesus expressed here. But those things which proceeds out of the mouth comes forth from the heart. So whatever we express with our mouth is coming forth from the heart, and they defile the man, because those things that comes out of our mouth can defile us. And he expresses these type of defilement. For out of the heart, what proceeds out of the heart? Evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, and blasphemies, which is basically a profane speech. Okay? So these are the things which defiles a man, but to eat without unwashed hands defiles not a man. He is expressing of the religious leaders' criticism to the disciples here in this moment, in this time, regarding washing their hands before eating, because it was a tradition that they were doing, a tradition of man. And so we must be careful with these traditions of man, brothers and sisters, as well, to stay away from tradition of men and to make sure that we are walking in the truth of the word of God. May we be a doer of the word of God and not just a listener. So now that we understand this and we have a better clarification that what defiles a man and what comes out of our mouth, let's be diligent. Let's guard our hearts like never before. And let's be watchful and prayerful at all times, and being careful. Brothers and sisters, let's hold on tight to Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, with everything that we got. And let's proceed on walking in His love. Let's continue to keep His commandments, to keep His truth, and walking in it. So now that you know this truth, if you did not, be a doer of the word. So not just a listener, be a doer of the word. Shalom.